shooting Nigeria with a peaceful protest.
Nigeria celebrates 60 years of independence. A few days later, a video of a young man allegedly shot to death by police unit SARS goes viral. The people take to the streets to protest. After days of protest, on October 20th, 2020, men wearing military uniform shoot at a crowd of protesters.
They are shooting Nigeria with a peaceful protest. We are not going anywhere.
Nigeria is in shock. I was born in Nigeria, and I wonder, how did we get here?
So you know they see them don't really care for the people. Monkey they walk and baboon they jump. I mean no they see them don't really care for the people. My people them are the Luna. Been a long time with them they fail Luna. Come Bella say you got used to the pain you know. Got used to the hell the people where they fail Luna. And we keep saying every day you say things go better. And we keep waiting, oh, for the NEPA to fix the light you don't see.
Don't forget that before EndSARS movement, there were several movements, several attempts, several protests before EndSARS. There has always been protests. By September, 28, there was supposed to be a national general strike on the issue of electricity prior tariff hike, on the issue of fuel price hikes.
The EndSARS protest is not the first time the people of Nigeria have protested. You had the Ali Must Go 50 Kobo protest against increasing meal tickets for students, the Occupy Nigeria protest against the removal of fuel subsidy.
Before that day, in that September 20, there are skirmishes of protests around the country, by labor and youth activists. But by 28th of September, the labor leadership betrayed, and combined in the midst of that, there was heightened police brutality.
I won't make we do that again. Hold on, come on. Make the government yes, they pay us.
From that day, I joined the protest, managed through that one around the airport before I got to Lekki, stayed there a bit, then I got home maybe for like 3 a.m. or something. And from that day, I attended every single one. This is our life. We're getting killed every day,
Lord Jesus.
There are nights I can't sleep. I've actually not been sleeping well, and that's because, I'm traumatized, if I'm being honest. There are moments I want to see clearly what my memory is telling me. There are moments, I try to also avoid what I'm remembering.
The SARS is a special anti-robbery squad. The EndSARS protests that kicked off in October 2020 was as a result of several years. Seeing that video on the 3rd of October of a young man reportedly shot and possibly killed was just too much for people to bear.
By the time the events in Igwe developed, which we saw another insane attack on common citizens, we saw how it triggered off emotions.
The breaking point was, we are suffering all these things. Why do we have to also die?
Time don't come up, people. Now you're ready to rise, to be free, to wise, to be free. Now you're ready to rise, to be free. Too wise to be free now.
Humanity is definitely in some state of slumber of some sort.
Time
reality and your consciousness are very linked in such a way that if we're going to put it into national discussion, I'll say your consciousness, your nation cannot be greater than your consciousness. So Nigeria as is the level of the consciousness of Nigerian people.
The freedom of speech in Nigeria. Yes. Number one. Number two, the way lórí affect me. Tí mo ṣe mọ̀, tí mo ṣe lè sọ. Láti wọ́n bèrè oyin tó ta flower. Bready. Ó máa ń ṣe fò báyìí bakery wa ni. Láti tèmi ní bakery láti bàálí gàdúrà. Kéèsì ìgbà tí wọ́n. Àjẹ́ ìtawá dé bakery. Bready wa ti rí wọ́n jẹ́ pé. Kí ló fà?
About 65% of all SMEs are said to be in the so-called informal sector. Those SMEs accounted for contribute around 48% of the country's GDP.
On ta bread 10 naira tẹ́lẹ̀. On ta bread 10 naira tẹ́lẹ̀. Là àìmọye pé oníbàá máa ń tẹ bread tẹ́lẹ̀. Ṣúgà owó iye tó fi ń ṣe owó. Sísì tó bá owó. Bàtà bèrè àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n. Wọ́n ṣàlàyé pé àwọn tó fi ń ṣe bread flour ó ti di ṣúgà ó ti wọ́n sí. Why?
So there has been a massive growth in youth unemployment, underemployment, and a rapid migration from the countryside to the cities. I migrated to Lagos at 16, just like many in Nigeria, searching for jobs and opportunities.
Wọ́n lérò wa lọ́kàn. Tí ìjọba bá lọ́wọ́ wa lọ́kàn ni, ọ̀nà pé tó pé àwọn òrèwò wákàtí sọ, wákàtí. Ìmọ̀ tí wọ́n ní kan náà mọ̀. Ìmọ̀ tí wọ́n ní kan lọ́wọ́. Wọ́n dẹ̀ wá gbà sàkọ́lẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ wa. Reduce salary àwọn house of assembly, house of rep yín. Kẹ́mi kọ́ owó salary, iṣẹ́ ìtẹ̀lé sàkàn salary. Àwọn wákàtí sàkì ní mo dẹ́rẹ́ kọ́ ti iṣẹ́.
When I wake up in the morning, Alubarika they pray for. I progress on my journey. I beg go make it get.
When you see a 10-year-old American, whenever he speaks about America, he will say, God bless America.
Yeah. I beg go make it get my way. Yeah. It's still based on the game.
Can a Nigerian youth say, God bless Nigeria?
Every day I dey walk up. But I know you know be my power. Many don't lost on the road. Many don't find.
Because if I want to look at it, he would think that what has Nigeria done for me? What have I gained from Nigeria? How do you want them to appreciate Nigeria when you do not teach them how what you call Nigeria became Nigeria? We need to go back to the drawing board. Where did we start?
Königin Elisabeth und der Herzog von Edinburgh trafen in der britischen Kolonie Nigeria ein. Es war der erste Besuch eines britischen Souveräns in Westafrika.
After millions of people in today's Nigeria had survived the enslavement trade, the principle behind was reinvented to a colonial system.
Denn noch in diesem Jahr soll die Kolonie Nigeria ihre Selbstregierung erhalten.
Nigerian people were not in the equation when their institutions were being formed. In fact, their institutions in a certain way were created to keep Nigerian people in bondage.
Im vorkolonialen Afrika gab es politische Systeme ganz unterschiedlicher Art. Es gab große Reiche, in den heutigen Sahelländern gab es große Reiche, die teilweise größer als die heutigen Länder gewesen sind. Und alles das, was es da vor der kolonialen Herrschaftsphase gab, das wird in Europa in der Regel überhaupt nicht gesehen. Und natürlich bedeutete das jetzt für den Kolonialismus, um herrschen zu können, musste man natürlich das, was dort war, eigentlich zerstören oder auf die Seite drücken oder man musste es instrumentalisieren, um die eigenen Ziele durchzusetzen. Und beide Prozesse hat es gegeben.
Many people that run the Nigerian project as it is are not in any way affiliated to traditional African institutions, thereby do not feel affiliated to Africa, thereby do not feel affiliated to African people.
Within the colonial government, you had the Women's War, railway workers' protest, Lagos women protested, Egba women protested in 1947, and many protests not documented.
Am Ende des Kolonialismus bereits die ökonomische Struktur geschaffen war, die auch heute noch existiert. Nämlich diese ökonomische Struktur, dass die afrikanischen Länder eigentlich nur Rohstoffe exportieren. Das waren ganz lange Menschen, nämlich versklavte Menschen. Als dann die Sklaverei aufgehört hat und nahtlos der Kolonialismus weitergegangen ist, waren es dann halt irgendwann Rohstoffe, mineralische Rohstoffe, agrarische Rohstoffe. Und diese Grundstruktur, die ist in der Sklaverei entstanden, die ist im Kolonialismus vertieft worden und die ist auch nach der Unabhängigkeit auch nie aufgelöst worden.
The First Republic of Nigeria was founded. Nigerian soldiers went for training in Germany. Coups were plotted, the military took over, and the civil war began. I remember my mother sharing her accounts of the war, where she was when it started, with her mother at the market. They both ran for safety, buying enough yams, for no one knew how long this war would last.
When Nigeria was created, it was created to exploit the labor of those people and also their resources. And nothing has been done, since the 60 years we say we have our so-called independence to actually reverse that or change the characteristic of this Nigerian nation as it is, or change the habit of the monster.
It's the base once again. Monkey they walk and baboon they chop. So they see. Them not really care for the people. Monkey they walk and baboon they chop. They see. Them not really care for the people. My people them are the Luna. Been a long time with them they fail Luna. Come Bella say you got used to the pain, Call used to the hell the people where they fail, And we keep saying, every day you say things go better. And we keep waiting,
Es wäre natürlich auch nach der Unabhängigkeit eine Industrialisierung möglich gewesen, gerade in Nigeria mit seinen hohen Einnahmen aus den Erdölexporten. Aber das hat nicht stattgefunden. Das hat nicht stattgefunden, weil die Europäer das nicht wollten. Es hat dann aber auch irgendwann nicht stattgefunden, weil das eben die nigerianischen Eliten nicht wollten.
Nigeria is wealthy in natural resources, but had for so long focused on one of its significant resources, oil.
Growing up, my pain is the fact that the things that I used to complain about growing up as a young boy in Lagos, Nigeria, we are still at it. Power supply. In fact, it seems like it's worse. Insecurity, lack of development. It's tiring. If you study the way of life of Africans, it's not just Nigeria. just have a very important role to play as a country. We kind of worship our leaders. That's the problem. Any kind of leadership that is not accountable is set up to fail.
Nigeria and the Nigerian people are two different entities, being that Nigeria in itself was the creation of outsiders and was not created for the benefit of the people trapped within its borders.
When the world oil crisis came, petroleum-rich Nigeria benefited for a while, earning good foreign currency. But what happened to that cash?
I call it the cold room. You know a deep freezer? When you throw something to a deep freezer, at first, if it's alive, it will be, After a while, the freezing takes a toll, and then the movement begins to reduce. After a while, pam. I said, so if you get there, so I said, while you're agitating now, are you ready for leadership yourself? Are you ready? It's easier to complain, not too young to rule. It's not about age. We have young politicians stealing, we have old ones stealing, we have males stealing, we have females stealing. So it's not about age, it's the culture.
My mom used to say, never spend beyond your means. And money not in hand is not in hand. Now I understand. Oil prices were returning to normal until they fell completely. So economic growth became stagnant. Nigeria needed cash badly. Well, at least $450 million US. IMF and the World Bank had a lot ready to lend, but with conditionalities that were very much determined by both. A free market approach was favored, and so did the SAP era begin.
Die Anfänge für diese Probleme, die liegen tatsächlich unter anderem in den Strukturanpassungsprogrammen. Also die Strukturanpassungsprogramme haben im Grunde genommen die gleiche Logik, die es schon in der Sklaverei gab, die es schon im Kolonialismus gab, haben die gleiche Logik mit modernen finanzpolitischen Instrumenten angewandt. Und das hat eben in den betroffenen Ländern für Verwerfungen, sozialen Verwerfungen gesorgt, die bis heute noch spürbar sind, auf ganz verschiedenen Ebenen. Die Armutsraten sind explodiert und wenn Menschen einmal arm gemacht wurden, dann ist es manchmal für sie überhaupt nicht noch mal möglich, in einem zweiten Schritt wieder auf die Beine zu kommen.
There has never been an end to the structural adjustment program. Since it was imposed in the 80s, the economy had been on a downward trajectory. If you cannot compare the value of the currency of 1980s to today, the level of industrialization, cannot be compared. We have had deindustrialization. We are in a much more terrible situation right now than in the 80s.
Im Grunde genommen sind diese Strukturanpassungsprogramme ein ganz wichtiger Grund dafür, warum es nach der Unabhängigkeit nicht wirklich gelungen ist, diese eben geschilderte Grundstruktur, Rohstoffe exportieren, verarbeitete Produkte importieren, die zu überwinden.
Market forces and the private sector must deal with the economy's fundamental problem. So they say.
Well, the structural adjustment program on its own is one of the most damaging economic policy imposed on African people, not just in Nigeria. It was continental.
Some experts say the structural adjustment program brought about the liberalization of the economy, and it was good.
Is this the same program that we are still looking at? They have no other program than austerity. Cuts in government spendings, sell whatever remaining government public assets, loot, and things like that. So essentially, it's doom, really. It's doom.
Many called for the government to regulate, to intervene. There was no access to essential social services such as health and education. That was only for those who could afford it. So people took to the streets to protest the structural adjustment program and, of course, the corruption around it.
Fuel price increments, devaluation of the currency, increment the tariffs, sale of public assets, all these policies have led to serious heightening of the poverty level.
Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ iye tó ń ta báàgì plaster is 3,000 naira 2005 nísìnyí báàgì plaster ń ṣe ó ti gbówó lórí kò dẹ̀ sí nǹkan tó fà torí àwọn ìjọba wa ń gba owó lọ́wọ́ bó ṣe ń kọjá wọlé because of that ẹ bá bí the client pé iye báyìí ni kò san òun kò ní lè san àwa gbọ́dọ̀ ààrẹ lọ́nà mímọ́ ju ọ̀nà tá à ń ṣe yìí náà lọ so ẹ jọ̀ọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run káwọn ìjọba kọ́ bá gbọ́rọ̀ wa yẹ̀wò. We cannot just stay in Nigeria and still be suffering in our country again. It's not possible.
What does one need to do to thrive, accumulate wealth to the detriment of others, use a gun to extort, fraud one's way to the top, gain fame, or be born into the right clan? Because many are working hard, so work hard is not working.
Because there's money. In the olden days, they trade by barter. But now the money was inside. Yeah, you want to buy something, you look for the money. You know, when I was a kid, our father was alive, they used to teach us, you know, how you can behave, your character in the public. How you can do in your family. How you can plan your life. They help you to plan your life. They said this is what is good for you, this was not good for you. But nowadays it's a modern system, even though the parents are not ready for their children, you know, for advice. Some parents, they not even see their children in the morning, and they are living in the same roof. And this not been happening in the olden days because once you wake up in the morning, you have to go to your parents and prostrate, and they do the prayer for you before you go out. But today they will say, oh, welcome, how are you? How was today? Where are you coming from? The prayer will ask God, what do you bring for me? So you don't know if it's a thief, you don't know if it's somebody joined the kidnapper or something like that. And that's why it's changing. The life doesn't change, the character change.
It was the wild 90s. Armed robbery and insecurity increased. International fraud evolved as the internet came, and cybercrime became prime, aka Yahoo Boys.
Over the years, several units of SARS were also opened across different police units in different states in the country. So it means that people found value in the specialized skills and experience that SARS officers bring into the act of policing the country.
You could no longer leave your doors wide open. My dad had a double-barreled gun. He blasted into the night sky before the vigilante would patrol the streets to keep the neighborhood safe from armed robbers. As a child, I felt it was normal. Is it?
Along the line, because of their notoriety, it also meant they got away with stepping outside of the procedure sometimes. It was almost like the end justifies the means when it comes to SARS.
On that night, it was just, what do you do? I genuinely thought that was it for me. Things happened so fast. At the same time, it felt like it was lasting a lifetime. You know, there was adrenaline, you know, just pumping. You can smell it in the air, and then you can smell blood, and then you can smell gunpowder. You can smell all of that. Tear gas. you know.
How are you feeling? You need to tie that in, Sha. You dey okay? You dey okay? Do you see blood? No, you're okay.
It's something that has really broken me down in ways I can't explain. But I felt I would make it. Just there, I felt, okay, it's over for us. So why not show people so they know what happened? That was the thought that crossed my mind. Show people where you died, where everybody died, period.
They are shooting on air. They are shooting Nigeria with a peaceful protest. We are not going anywhere. We want freedom from bad government. We want freedom.
You don't educate these people. You don't train them properly. You don't even care about their welfare. They don't have insurance. When a police officer dies in the line of duty, what happens to his children or his widow?
The minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira. So to afford a good school for your kids and for your generators so that they can learn, you need at least 3 side businesses or jobs. That is actually to survive first.
It's a broken system. I say you can't take a full-grown man and pay him 40,000 naira a month, which in our current economy cannot take care of anything, and then you give him a loaded gun and expect him to be civil.
They are also faced with this burden of policing such a huge population. And all of this combined with lack of political will at the leadership level leads to this situation that the policeman or policewoman has to fend for themselves. So on one hand, they are facing dangerous criminals, and so they have to defend themselves. On the other hand, they need to survive as human beings, and so find the incredible need to justify the extortion and corruption that goes on at our police checkpoints. When complainants come at the police station, there's this obvious need for them to ask for money in order to carry out their job.
Poverty is a weapon artificially generated to mass produce itself. The victims of this system, the poor, are often manipulated into committing crimes just to survive. My money was stolen once as I traveled to buy the second-hand clothes that I sold on campus. I had no money to board a bus back, nor eat. I was stuck in Lagos, and you do not want to be stuck in Lagos, trust me. So I slept under the bridge, that's the CMS bridge. I was hungry and soon realized that I too was capable of deeds not to starve. Do you see?
What you see, that it's a lot of good men who join the police force with ideals, great ideals about, I want to protect and serve. But when you get there, you discover that there's a lot of corruption, that you don't even have the tools needed to protect and serve. You're not even encouraged by the system to protect and serve. And you go rogue. Yeah.
When someone gets arrested, the next thing will be that the person gets bailed or the person gets charged to court. If found guilty, the person will go to jail. That was my opinion on things. That's what I believed. Not until 2012 when my brother was arrested. They saw my brother being laid out with the 3 other guys. They were all in chains and they were already beaten, looking rough. My mom started shouting like, but that's the boy I'm talking about. That's my son. Chijoke went to child dedication ceremony, usual Nigerian thing. After you do the child dedication in the church, you do the after party. So he went for the after party, and they were there having fun, talking, just drinking, making noise, of course, because that was what the police officers said prompted them to do the arrest. There were a group of boys making noise in a compound. They came and they carried everybody. About 4 of them were arrested. South Okuzo is a very terrible place to be. Like, it's a nightmare for every young person. They met with the OC. They said, "Sir, I came because of my son. That one that we saw that day." He said, "If it's that boy you're talking about, I've wasted him, and there's nothing we can do." That was his words. "I've killed your son, and there's nothing you can do."
Da gab es auf der einen Seite koloniale Prägungen der Sicherheitskräfte, dann gab es ganz lange Militärdiktatur. Gerade die Diktatur von Abacha 93 bis 98, die liegt ja quasi in der Anfangszeit von SARS. Und da konnten die machen, was die wollen.
We've seen cases of extrajudicial executions, moving even to enforce disappearances. People would note that their family members have been taken, yet cannot be accounted for. And SARS, nobody is able to hold SARS to account to explain what happened to someone whom everyone saw you picked up, was arrested, was booked, but there are no records to show the person was ever within your police station or in any of the detention centers.
A lot of things do. Is it when the dead bodies were found in the Ezu River in Anambra State? And when we heard it, my dad said to go and check to see if my brother was amongst the dead bodies that were there. You see, in Igbo land, it's very important to give someone a burial. That is what most people do not understand. When I say I'm looking for my brother, I am fine with knowing that he's dead. It's not like it is the ideal situation I would prefer, but at least it gives me a sense of closure. Because if you lay someone to rest, like if you bury someone, you can assess this person, you can be able to go to their graveside and talk to them and ease yourself in some ways. We were denied that opportunity. My dad went to that river. He saw young boys shot with bullet wounds and all. He removed his clothes and swam in a river filled with dead bodies. That's what my father did, looking for his son. Dead or alive, we were willing to have him. And he turned every corpse there. None was my brother. So he had to come out and drive back home and stop at the gate, and we have to host him with water before he can come inside and have his bath and everything. So we don't even know what happened to him. Like, was he killed? Like, was he shot dead? Was he beaten to death? What did he eat? What was his last meal? What were his last thoughts? You know, when you think of all these things, it makes you go mad in some ways. Like, you think about it and you go a little bit crazy. Like, what could he have done to deserve all of that? I really don't know.
Africans have been sold a lie, and it's a lie that we've bought, and the lie is universalism. We believe truly in the universalism and brotherhood of man, which is the tenets of Islam, Christianity, and also modern education, to act or pretend to the African or to us as motherland people that we are part of a global family, and which is not really so, politically and economically.
You see, in the motherland where I'm from, we have been under fake news for 400 years, man. Welcome to the party. Yeah.
Socially, yes, you can accept to be part of the world brotherhood. But economically and politically, it is obvious that there's no world brotherhood. And many people that claim this brotherhood only claim it because it doesn't affect them negatively. And other people pay the price for their so-called one globalization, as it's called today.
Wir müssen kritisch über Europa reden, wir müssen kritisch über afrikanische Eliten reden, wir müssen auch kritisch über deren Kollaborationen reden. Weil nämlich das, was die afrikanischen Eliten tun, ist oft auch im Interesse der europäischen Eliten. Die fördern das, die stabilisieren das, die haben oft ein Interesse daran, dass es eben genauso läuft, wie es läuft.
We are the system. We are the broken ones. The system is broken. So it's just for people to understand this and understand, because things happen. Well, anything for the boys is common. Police extort you, police harass you, police do this. But instead of focusing on what happens, ask yourself, why is it happening? Because if you understand why it's happening, then you can begin to find ways to stop it from happening.
We want good governance. We're saying, listen to us. Yeah, we don't hate the police, we don't hate, but it's a problem when it's more of harassment, abuse. Just listen.
No problem.
Seeing the chaos around me, seeing people, there were people that were just stuck in place, out of fear, shaking, they couldn't move. Maybe they wanted to run, but they couldn't move. You could see it. There were people who had piss on themselves. There were so many things. It was horrible. And I just said, you know what, do the best you can right now. Just do the best you can and fingers crossed. That was it.
If you can get ambulance for us, somebody is bleeding, please. Gunshot wound, if you can get ambulance for us, please. Ambulance.
We know who shot. We know it's Nigerian soldiers, and they were followed by the police. Before we even started picking the shells, it was a boy I don't know the boy, it's a young guy that just brought it to my attention. They're picking up shells, the soldiers. So we started trying to pick up shells. Again, it happened so fast, but it felt so long. And then when they left, we sat there. These are the people that, like, we were looking at each other like, how did we make it?
Police brutality, one of the reasons that prompted the mass protests in the first place, now became the employed means to end the protest.
Yes, and he need air.
Now the second group, which is the police, and they're tear gassing, shooting. The shells were actually in a nylon bag initially that we just got from the floor. I remember when I fell, the thing tore. My phone fell. My phone had died at this point. For some reason, I was trying to pack those shells because this is the only way you can explain. I'm still breathing. I'm going to do my best. That's the only thing that was running at the back of my head. So I put the shells in my shirt like this, and I was running. We could barely see. They had tear gas. We're all supporting each other.
He come out. They shot this guy.
So 20th of October in Lekki, toll gate, Lagos State, Nigeria, several protesters were shot at by persons wearing military uniforms.
Let's not say Lekki alone. People were killed all over Nigeria. The fact that it's the only big man area that people keep repeating, Lekki. If you want to know where they killed people, check any police station that was burnt. When I did my own street investigation, I found out that many of the police stations that were burnt during the protest was a retaliation to the policemen in that command actually killing protesters.
It's very important that you understand the economic aspect of all this. If my parents were rich, if they were Dangote, or if my dad was a politician, this wouldn't happen. So you find out that justice in Nigeria is for the rich, if you can afford it.
What do you have to do to afford justice? Because activists face consequences because they voiced injustice. Civil society organizations got threatened. Bank accounts of activists were frozen. And those who could flee the country did so. Many went underground. Others happy to return to work and continue life as usual.
Not only can humanity not sustain what is going on right now, not only are we completely broken by the system, it is completely evident that nature itself cannot sustain the system.
Are you not tired of the suffering, the poverty? Aren't you even tired of the enjoyment? You enjoy so much. Are you not tired of enjoying from other people's sweat? Are you not tired is a question that I always sort of find myself coming back to, like, I'm never tired, like, you know?
You cannot be in this country and be afraid for speaking out your truth.
This country now, wow, until they happen. Now peace we want to, peace. Now we want to.
You're not saying what happened to someone else. You're saying what happened to you. And your country is saying, oh, don't say it. You're embarrassing us.
I still want to go to the courts, a civil case, like go to courts properly and demand for answers. The courts have enforcing powers.
Come on, you. Peace we want. Everybody be okay. But you don't be saying money will be one before pockets. Everybody be okay.
So fear has become our armor, and which is also our motivation in order for things to change.
It's the base once again. Monkey they walk and babu they chop. So you know they see. Them no really care for the people. Monkey they walk and babu they chop. I be know they see. Them no really care for the people. My people them are the Luna. Been a long time with them they fail Luna. Come Bill, I say you got used to the pain, you know. Got used to the hell the people where they fail, you know. And we keep saying, every day you say things go better. And we keep waiting, oh, for the NEPA to fix the light, you know.
If they want businesses to thrive, if they want investments to come to Nigeria, then the civic side of things, the governance side of things needs to work for all people. It's not only people in government.
We are privileged to have been around as at the 80s. And we did see, you know, how some level of norm, you know, was, you know, as at that instance to go to the university, you did not know anybody. You didn't know anybody when I entered the university. You go to university, you are even paid.
My childhood in Nigeria was just after the good old days. The good old days, as my grandmother calls it. She told tales of the glorious 70s, when good education was free. You could leave your doors wide open. Nobody was coming to rob you.
One of the responsibilities of individual in this society is to know, is to intend, is to start today that this society, this country must be better for it.
I can only effect change when I begin to participate in politics. It's the truth. Hate politics as much as you can. You must participate for it to favor you.
Train people, male and female. In fact, we say, regardless of your discipline, maybe they have some trainings proper trainings, they will be better. Might not be perfect, but at least there'll be a shift.
Everybody loves somebody, somebody calling somebody, somebody no one somebody, because I know that is somebody. I don't want to see she leaving, cause you baby know that come around.
One of the major issues is our constitution, which needs serious addressing. Constitution they need to address the current socioeconomic situation, our cultural and political climate. A bunch of stuff needs to go on, which will then affect all of these other things. We address that, then we need to look at the people. And I mean our quote unquote elected, and I always put that elected in air quotes because I'm not convinced, from the rigging to the bribery to the I'm not convinced.
Der Westen hat nicht die Lösung für diese Vielfachkrise. Die Lösung liegt eigentlich dort vor Ort. Man muss wirklich bereit sein zu sagen, wir haben jetzt mehrere Jahrhunderte profitiert. Indem wir profitiert haben, sind wir auch ganz maßgeblich für diese Vielfachkrise verantwortlich. Weil dann kann man wirklich ganz konkret darüber reden, was sollten jetzt auch europäische Regierungen tun oder was sollten sie auch lassen, damit tatsächlich die Länder nochmal die Möglichkeit haben, auf gute eigene Beine zu kommen.
There's nothing you can do without the money. But you have to look for a good character before you involve yourself in money.
But if Nigeria is okay, a lot of people will be okay now.
They bring some news and they bring some tidings. They bring some news and they bring some tidings. They bring some news and they bring some tidings. They bring some news and they bring some tidings. They bring some news.
Culture is that thing that we still have to find as African people right now. But we must remember that whatever culture we want to find must be grounded in our own culture, so that we have something we are building off from.
People, just strangers, just displaying that true Nigerian identity, which is our true identity that a lot of these politicians and elites have tried to mask and deny that we have. We are a loving set of people. We are caring. We're a community. We look after each other. So I saw all of that, different religions, tribes, just helping each other out, just holding hands, standing together, singing together, supporting each other, protecting each other, which is very important, And so I was glad to be there, up until I think the government just couldn't deal with it anymore.
The hope, the dreams, the possibilities we saw during the EndSARS protest of what a Nigeria can become. And I think that is that hope that we all should continue to hold very dear to our hearts. The diaspora were really in support because for many people, they left Nigeria because they were frustrated back home. And so they saw a chance that they could come back home again or they could contribute.
I am a diaspora, eager to be home, to do my fair share of the work, like millions of Nigerians and Nigerian diaspora all over the world. So this is a great opportunity for us now, for us to discover our purpose, for us to find a vision.
Time don't come, my people, now you're ready to rise, to be free, to wise, to be free, now you're ready to rise, to be free, to wise, to be free, now you're ready to rise.
If you're lucky enough to have been able to raise our head up a bit in this oppressive system that we live under, it's our duty to use those skills and those resources that we're able to gather to organize our people towards achieving these institutions.
There's so much work to be done.
The world has a great chance now to say, I hear you. The people of the largest black nation in the world, I see you. I feel your struggle, for it is not a struggle of an African country. It is a struggle of the working class, of the governed, of small businesses, of you. It is my struggle. It is a struggle of our human race to choose humane ways into the future.
So there is hope. We are going to get it right. My generation would. I will fight my best, to the best of my ability. I will, because God forbid I have children that suffer the same fate that I did. God forbid that I have children that will be scared to go out because the police will shoot them dead. We will get it right.